Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those beyond and in between the binary, this podcast episode is scheduled for 1 hour and is the next episode of Below the Distance, a gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling podcast. Coming to the mixer first, hailing from Oakland, California, she brings more gore than a congressional hearing about heavy metal lyrics, Jetta Ray. And her co-host, also hailing from Oakland, California, she's the macho man-eater, a savage against the Randian, Lauren Parker.
Well, let me tell you something, Lauren. I'm glad you're back.
I know. Okay, so I was gone. I took a week off because I was in Philly, actually, for the Folk Fest. So I don't know how many of you know what Philly Folk Fest is. I didn't know anything about it, and then I went to Philly, and nobody there had heard of it either. But apparently it's been around for 56 years.
So how did you get enlisted into...
That's the term to use, I think. I got downright drafted into Philly Folk Fest by dating into it, actually. And so this was one of those things where it's one of those enterprises that I did for love. So I slept in the mud. That is on an active hay farm, so most of the mud is manure. And was up at 2 a.m. telling people they could not drive on certain roads unless they were a safety vehicle for love. And then listen to a lot of really good folk music, which was sort of the perk for me. I got to see Graham Nash. I got to see Taj Mahal and Kebmo, which was really cool for me. And then I got to see a really good band called White Horse. And then that was kind of mostly it, other than drinking a lot. Oh, I tried edibles for the first time. Well, like the first time in the real way. It makes me fuzzy.
Yes.
So that was
a whole new chapter of our relationship, a whole new... vestigial organ
I know
has sprouted in our friendship.
So the first time that I ever smoked pot, not that I do that, Mom, but the first time that I ever smoked pot, of the probably 7 times that I've ever smoked pot, honestly, I called my best friend Nathan. You remember Nathan from Erotic Friend Fiction.
I do,
so
yeah.
you guys share the incredibly vast duties of best friendship. And I called him and I'm like, I don't get it. And he was like, you're really high right now. And I'm like, I don't think I am. I don't understand the difference. And he was just like, this is amazing. Thank you for calling me. So the next time I try to do anything of an enterprise, I'll be sure to call you.
Yes.
Or text you.
So I recently got so high that I could see in 3 dimensions. So I have what's called monocular vision. That's just like a word. That's not like it's not like a clinical term. That's just
I
like,
see.
I don't know. Like when I'm like, oh, I have monocular vision. People are like, oh, I haven't heard about that. Like, you know.
What's your life expectancy, Jetta?
Yeah. No, so I can only see through one eye at a time because when I was a child, I had a really severe lazy eye. I was almost blind. I was basically functionally blind until I was 3. And they took the eye out, put it back in. Now I can see, but I can only see through one eye at a time. And
I have that a little bit. I had a lazy eye as well, but I have to do the switch thing too. Sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm usually when I'm tired.
Yeah, and there's some chemicals, like you can get glasses made with like a certain chemical that forces your eyes to lock together.
Okay. Can you train it through the training stuff, or is it too advanced for that?
I don't even know what that is.
Sorry, my sister had a tracking problem that kind of contributed to reading impairment. And so she was the eye doctor, and they basically got her eyes to track together, and then reading was like that for her.
But then I smoked some like really, because one of my partners smokes a lot of weed to manage chronic pain, and so we smoked a lot of like really like medical grade weed, and just like my eyes just like relaxed, and then I could see in 3 dimensions, and then it felt, I don't know, it felt like falling off a cliff. It felt like falling off a cliff, or rather, I'm standing on the cliff, and the ground beneath the cliff is coming at me very fast. Because I'm just sitting on a porch, like, you know, ranting about, you know,
so not only do we know
how to catfish white supremacists on Tinder.
Nice.
Like, I'm not actually moving.
So that's sort of entertaining, because not only have we found out that one of your partners is big into weed, but also that they are rich enough to possess a porch in the Bay Area. So now I'm like, who is this mysterious benefactor? I do declare.
I'm glad you're back. I'm sorry that we were recording literally the day after I moved out of the house.
And the day that I got home. No, it's totally fine, actually. I got sick while I was there, so now I'm like in pretty good shape. No, it was a really, really good trip. And Jetta was cat sitting for me and went through the enterprise of going to a pet store to buy her food, which is more than I've ever done. So I think...
Where do you get the food then?
Oh, like Target or Safeway.
Oh.
I just go there and I get the Friskies with gravy, but with the majority of gravy. And then
So you should have never told me this because, you told me in a text, just get the Friskies. And then, like, she needed food, and I was like, I'm just going to go to the pet store. And then when they didn't have Friskies, I'm like, well, I'm just going to buy this, like, this like, fancy name, like, local organic brand.
Oh,
Not going to tell her, that I did feed her cat Friskies against her wishes. I
don't care. I buy her Purina Naturals, which I'm pretty sure is the Purina regular in a different bag. She ain't dead. It's fine. I took her to the vet. She's healthy as a horse. She'll live 1,000 years or else. Seriously, something could happen to me and people will be like sad. Anything happens to Zelda, Oakland will burn. People are not okay with it. I will post about Zelda on my Facebook page and on the Instagram just because people need to know. She's also on Instagram by herself as Daily Zelda. But the problem with Zelda is that she is like the best. But also I now know why my friends hang out with me. It's totally because of her.
Her purr is so loud that I tried to record it.
Really?
Yeah, I tried to.
Wow.
I tried to like record the purr.
She was really mad at me for leaving. Like as soon as I sat down the first time, she was scratching my face but licking the wounds. It was a very complex emotional battle she was having of affection and hostility. And she's my favorite. Yeah, she's like our avatar. Like if you hate cats, you will love Zelda. And
that's a very interesting performance piece that really speaks to the struggles of the white working class. So this is actually a wrestling podcast.
Yes, it is. Oh, sorry. This is a wrestling podcast in which I know a lot more about cats than I do about wrestling. And Jetta, my best friend, has made me a wrestling widow, and she introduces me to all sorts of wrestling concepts, and we recap the show Glow as well as other wrestling-based material. We haven't done this intro in a while, so I'm glad I'm contributing it now. So there we go. So welcome to episode 900, in which I clarify what this podcast is about.
It's actually episode 9.
There we go.
This is episode 9. We're actually back into reviewing the show.
Yep.
After our break.
Our mid-season break is concluded, and we are back in for Glow.
We did a mid-season break that was actually way more work than not having a break.
Yeah, fun fact. That was interesting. So it was very educational for me. I will say that absolutely. Like I got a very new and broader world to kind of how wrestling has run as a result of our mid-season break and the movies and documentaries that we watched. But why does anyone do this is sort of the way I walked away from it. It's a beautiful art form that I love that just kills you slowly and swiftly. Like it is like a classic torture. And so that's kind of what I took from the mid-season break. So now I'm happy to jump into happiness where there's lots of glitter.
Okay.
Speaking of which, makeup interlude.
Okay.
I just got the new Wet n Wild Mermaid box. I'm loving it. Which is interesting because it's like $35 for like 3 like liquid eyeliners, 4 like liquid eyeshadows, and a bunch of different lipsticks and a highlighter. And Jetta and I are trying out the products. She didn't know what a highlighter was, which is okay. But you are taking my liquid eyeliners, aren't you?
Yes.
You will have to review them on the show.
Do highlighters go on your cheekbone?
Yes.
Okay.
Sort of. Yes. They do go on the cheekbone to kind of like highlight. It's sort of like the antithesis of blush. So it's like bring a little bit of attention to this, but you can also put it anywhere that you want a little bit like, so I'll put it on like kind of my Cupid's bow to kind of bring a little attention there, or a little bit underneath the brow bone.
Oh, okay.
To kind of like just like a little pops of brightness. I also have a rainbow highlighter because I'm subtle as fuck.
You could also maybe put it on your, like on the bottom. So something you can do if you like really dark, like I used to wear really dark plum lipsticks. One of the problems with that is that it makes your lips look pursed. So one of the ways that you can fix that is if you take like some white eyeshadow or some other sort of like light powder and just do a little smudge at the bottom, the middle of your bottom lip. It suggests fullness in the lip.
Below the waterline or underneath the edge of it?
On the actual lip.
Okay. All right.
I have my finger in my mouth to demonstrate this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So
anyway, this episode is definitely brought to you by makeup that I like. Anyway.
So we're covering episode 6. This is one of those moments. It is directed by Kate Dennis. She directed 2 episodes of The Handmaid's Tale and 2 episodes of Miss Fisher.
Really? So those are 2 shows I love. I haven't gotten to talk about Miss Fisher, but Miss Fisher's Mysteries is probably one of my favorite Netflix shows. I don't know if Netflix actually produces it, but it's on Netflix, so go and find that out. It's based off of the Karen Greenwood sort of not quite cozy mysteries, but sort of collection. The first one's called Cocaine Blues, and Phryne Fisher is an Australian flapper who employs communists, and she's like basically this rich billionaire woman who solves crimes for fun.
Yeah,
it's great, and she's supposed to be like 28, and she's played by a 40-year-old actress, which I love.
There was a phase you had this phase, and I dreaded coming over because I would come over, I would catch a glimpse of Miss Fisher, and be like, oh my god, I'm gonna run away and be with this woman, or become this woman in that fantasy, and then eventually realize that she's straight as hell, and so I had to stop coming. I just
no, but the doctor's not like, she's the friends with that lesbian doctor.
True.
I'm sorry, Phryne Fisher is too open to be straight. So Kate Dennis of The Handmaid's Tale directed The Bridge and Jezebels, 2 of some pretty great episodes. She also directed a couple episodes of The Mindy Project, and I guess Sleepy Hollow was a television show.
It took me a while to realize that The Mindy Project is actually just like a normal like fiction sitcom, because anytime there's a project, I just assume like it's a shitty sketch show.
Yeah, okay, I get that. And for Miss Fisher's murder mysteries, she did the Green Mill murder and Murder on the Ballarat train. That's a really good episode, actually. That one's got a really good plot twist in it. So I highly endorse Kate Dennis's other work in the form of those 2 other shows, and then there's a bunch of other shows I'd never heard of. But you know,
that's just television,
right? Welcome to television.
And the episode itself was written by Genji Cohen, who's the creator of Orange is the New Black. And this explains so much of today.
Okay. Yeah, it sort of does. Okay. So do we want to jump into the wrestling fan news caveat?
Yes, we do.
All right, I'm putting a minute on the timer, and I'm sipping my drink. Go, Jetta.
So while you were gone, Zelda and I binge watched One Punch Man on your couch. And One Punch Man is not a wrestling show. It is a superhero anime, but it deals with a lot of themes that wrestling does, like men who are so muscly they border on effeminacy, and sadness at being unable to realize your own power.
I'm out of town for a week, and Jetta starts raising my cat religious. Anime. I thought we were going to let her choose when she reached adulthood. Let's jump into the progressive caveats of this episode. Jetta, you wanna do a whoop whoop for us?
Some progressive caveats for your praxis. This episode has a fair amount of casual whorephobia and some homophobia and a lot of this, like, you know, white feminist, you know, humor where it's like acknowledging systemic injustice as the comedy,
but the punchline is
rather than confronting that systemic injustice.
I'm starting to think of white feminism as like Fozzie Bear, where it just says a thing and then they go waka waka, and you're like, So there's that. I will say that something that I have picked up in my time is that there's a certain dog whistle that happens whenever you put an article in front of the word Jew.
Ah, yes.
Whenever you put the word the or a in front of it, you are a person to be not trusted.
Yeah.
And this is a very good example as to why.
Yeah, this episode, yeah. Okay, so our lit recap is sponsored by Bullet because we...
Fuck, I forgot! God damn it. Okay, seriously, I need some emails. If anybody knows some like homo-positive bourbon out there, I'm gonna need it, because like I will tweet out Knob Creek and tell them to get their shit together so that I can drink something, because you know I need to have the bourbon of my people, but I need to have the elixir of my people. So somebody email me, god damn it.
So our show opens with Sam having summoned Debbie and Ruth to the gym to, I guess, do some screen tests. Like, that's part of what's so like, so much about the show is like difficult to comprehend what they're doing, because it's not what you do in wrestling, but like
No.
it is what you would do, I guess, with TV. Like, I've done theater and I've done film, but I've never done television. So a lot of this is just like, I guess they're doing some tests.
It's strange. So this is sort of the part that when you made this note, I realized that like I keep forgetting that this is a television show. Not the show I'm watching. I very much understand that Glow is a television show, but that they're shooting a show within a show. I oftentimes forget it's a show with pilots and things until Sam will drop stuff. It's very much in the background. Mm-hmm. Which, on the one hand, I get, because nobody is here to watch a show about how a wrestling show gets made. Not really. You know, we're here to kind of like discover the journey of people becoming wrestlers. But at the time that Glow and Women of Wrestling and the WWE were really coming together, that would be kind of a big thing to factor in. But it's sort of like how the sausage gets made. Like, it's really controversial for the first 10 seconds, and then you're just bored. And so part of me is like, yeah, that's probably
says the vegan. Like,
it's just all the bits, everybody. It's just lips and assholes and live chickens. That's it. It's unremarkable. You'll never eat again. Anyway. But so, yeah, he has the camera out or around the whole episode. It's pretty vague, but I think mostly what he was trying to do is get a chemistry read. Because in some ways, I know Sam Sylvia is a movie director, but I really see him more as like a theater director. Mm-hmm. And his level of just abandonment of all reason. So I kind of got that as like him feeling out a lot of things before he brought the tape out.
I make a point to try and point out all fun food and drink related things in the show. Mm-hmm. But at some point, Ruth mentions that she has tea in in a glass, mm-hmm. and she doesn't like that.
Yeah.
And she asks what Russians have against mugs, and Mark Maron rightly points out that you need the metal holder thing.
Yep.
Which is called a podstaconic. It's a metal holder for glasses.
Are you going to do an entire Fry Havoc thing about that?
Probably.
Is it going to be like a metaphor of dealing with social anxiety?
Oh yeah, that's a great.
See what I did there?
My veneer of sarcasm and forced joviality is like a metal cage to keep out my simmering hot vulnerability.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, when you go to bars and order tea, well, okay. So in the Bay Area,
yeah,
you can go to a lesbian bar and get Earl Grey hot.
Which one are you going to?
El Rio.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I normally go to Eli's, where you cannot get Earl Grey, but you can get an entire flight of vegan tacos.
Yeah, see, I always associate... So, like, even still living in the Bay where, like you know, there are no rules, like... You know, straights are non-monogamous now, and like,
yeah, we let them in
gay
finally.
People have children, you know, like, you know, like it used to be like that was the way in which I knew if a space was gay friendly, or specifically gay coded, was if they were vegetarian.
Yeah,
because that to me, like, I always associate
vegetarianism,
like, lesbianism with vegetarianism, because I was a vegetarian lesbian for a while.
Yeah. Look, some stereotype, like it's broken clocks are right twice.
Or rice.
Or rice. Damn it. Hang on. Broken clocks are right twice. Like, you know, it's just that's how it works in stereotyping. And yes, most lesbians are at some
Minute 2
point
in this podcast. You know what? Calling out, like, you know, leaning on prejudice but not calling out as cowardice. Minute 5, well, sometimes stereotypes are right.
Wait until we get into the stories I tell later.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So Debbie won't work with Ruth for, you know...
Debbie Sour.
And Ruth unveils her new persona. Zoya the Destroyer. She does a cool little, like, Hulk Hogan pose.
So, okay. I am enjoying Ruth a lot, but it's like this is. We can just never forget that she's fucking Anne of Green Gables all the time. Like she is so like she is so earnest in all of her things. It's like how I imagine Daniel Day-Lewis is on his off hours. Her like commitment to a bit is so admirable, but like so awkward still, even though she's like kind of evolving along and figuring out where the lines are. But yes, she is noble Soviet bear who will crush the weak capitalist dogs.
Oomph. Am
Which,
I right?
like,
Am I right?
You know what? You could just at me.
Ruth then like does an entire match by herself to show off her moves to Debbie. She introduces the hammer and sickle, which is a body slam followed by tripping, which is pretty creative. Rough toilet paper. I have 2 notes. The first one is no move currently exists like this, because it involves dragging your opponent between your crotch.
Is that what it was? Is
Yeah.
it supposed to be like an arm burn, or is she supposed to get all the way through? I was unclear.
Like a pump. It's like a pump handle. It's a pump handle pull through.
I wasn't sure about the pull through part only upon rewatching it because I assumed that's what it was, and then I was like, wait.
My other note is this is as good a time as any to tell Lauren about Ultimate Surrender.
What's that?
That is kink.com's lesbian wrestling.
I'm annoyed they have not called me yet. Hello. Do you need a personal invitation? What is your deal? But that sounds amazing.
And then she has like a fall away slam. It's also called a sack of shit in wrestling. And she calls it the bread line, which is also a shitty Megadeth song about like people abusing the welfare system.
Oh, Dave Mustaine, your libertarian mediocrity is your curse.
And then she has one called potato soup, where she throws someone into the turnbuckle. That's all right.
Yeah.
And then vodka for breakfast.
Yeah, she said that for potato soup, still working on the names, which
Yeah.
I kind of appreciated because all of these are amazing.
And then her finisher, which is like a sit-out pile driver, she calls vodka for breakfast, also known as a Bloody Mary. That's not particularly a Russian thing.
No, but it seems to be alcohol related and vodka included.
Yeah, Debbie nonplussed.
Okay, so I kind of want to talk about Debbie's outfit in this, not because I'm like, hello, femme, but also, so Ruth shows up in like workout shorts, a t-shirt, and shoes, and with tea that's burning her fingers. Debbie shows up in like a Born in the USA jacket. She's got her red, leotard on. She's got, her beige tights on so that everybody gets the illusion that like no human being ages. She's got full makeup, lots of white eyeshadow.
Is that highlighter?
No, it is not. It can be used for that, I guess. The 80s were a strange time for what they deemed socially appropriate. She kind of looks like Mimi from the Drew Carey Show right here.
I mean, it's very drag.
It is very drag.
Using the white eyeshadow to kind of create...
It doesn't make a total amount of sense to me considering her character, because that's a very stage trick. Mm-hmm. And she's used to being on a soap, which is, I would say, a little bit darker as far as... It's a little bit more intense with the makeup than, say, Primetime, or more obvious. But not quite as dramatic as this. But she shows up at 6 a.m. in full getup, and I thought that was sort of interesting because she's like, she seems so Liberty Bell here. Like the line between Debbie and Liberty Bell is, I think, intentionally blurred. Whereas like Ruth is here to work out and get their bearings and get their marks. And I see one is actually being way more professional than the other, and it's actually Ruth.
And Ruth does the Zoya thing so much that it, like, she does it for acceptance.
Yeah.
She does it because she sees that it makes Sam laugh.
Yeah.
And she just does it until he has to tell her to stop.
Right.
And so, like, you very clearly have this dichotomy where, like, you have the villain who doesn't see themselves. Like, she sees herself as someone who fucks up, but she does not see herself as, this epitome of virtue, the way that like
Debbie clearly is like, I'm the face, I am the hero. Any deviation from that norm, she is a woman scorned, and she will righteously occupy that space.
Yeah, I mean, she stole the gimmick from Vicky.
In some ways, I almost think that Debbie getting cheated on is the best thing that ever happened to her. Not in the like get your groove back kind of way, but she's like, finally, I get to be a bitch for a reason. This
sounds as good as this.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I think that's kind of like her deal.
Well, no, I mean, I just like, this is real divorce, real motherfucking divorce sours.
Well, so I was lucky enough in Philly to meet one of our listeners, Daniel, Hey, Daniel, how are you? And Daniel is firmly on the train of Debbie did nothing wrong. I challenge Daniel, and Daniel will take that graciously because she did not do anything wrong in the cheating issue. But she's a bitch. Like, she's a grade A bitch and professionally very difficult to work with. And in some ways, I think that works. And then in other ways, I'm like, yeah, it makes you a difficult collaborator. Like, we might be milking it. And at this point, it's kind of like, I think that's how the audience is supposed to see her. Like, come on. You've been staring at Ruth's face for like 8 weeks now. Like, you haven't built up some sort of immunity yet? Please. Anyway.
So she doesn't want to work with Ruth and says that she thinks we can do better.
Okay. Which, like, you've done zero work for this role so far. You're a shitty-ass wrestler. Like, do you have a very industrious mouse in your pocket that this we is coming from? Like, who is the we here? Is this the royal we? Like, you knew this was going to happen. Basically, in the last episode that we recapped, you were giving him permission to pursue this. Why you being a dick?
See, okay, I would love a wrestler whose gimmick was that he had a mouse in his pocket telling him what to do, as long as it was like a stuffed mouse or maybe an animatronic mouse.
It would be difficult to get a real mouse to like do a trick like that anyway. So
I mean,
I kind of want
it's not getting the mouse to do the trick that I'm concerned about.
Yeah, no, I know the squat but like a fake hamster popping out of a polo pocket.
Yeah.
Like and then it's like kind of like the Power Rangers guinea pig like sensei dad. No one steal that. That's my new gimmick.
And then Sam tells Ruth to take the day off because he needs to talk with Debbie. And then Ruth decides that she's going to just delve deeper into her character's motivations.
I like that we've shifted from Ruth being the problem and being this raw material that needs to be shaped by Sam to Debbie being the problem and needing to be shaped by Sam. Because it's so easy to think of Ruth as like the problem because she has kind of no identity. But Debbie very much has an identity that Ruth has to now, or Sam has to now challenge. And they're kind of equally the same amount of work. I kind of appreciate that we're still pursuing that storyline because it would be so easy now to kind of abandon it in favor of, well, they have to work together, so they gotta work together. But it's actually very difficult to work together with somebody you kind of genuinely dislike. And to kind of keep at it and keep putting like the pressure on it, I think works very well. It makes this episode entertaining at all.
Ruth has this story that she tells Sam about, I guess, to like showcase how committed she is to getting at the core of a character. She talks about how when she was in a production of Company, she went so method that her own boyfriend hit on her in an airport bar, not knowing who she was. And then she implies that they broke up as a result of it. And sometimes monogamy feels like a sketch, like a comedy sketch that never ends. Has many chances for everyone to be like, great punchline, woo, live from New York, but it just never ends, and everyone's miserable and no one's laughing.
Well, it's sort of interesting because, like, for me, I think how people see non-monogamy is orgies all the time and cheating, but really it's twice the amount of people drinking all my fucking almond milk before I've had a goddamn drop of it. And so I think non-monogamy might be like a sketch show, but there are no airports. You're right.
Yeah. Well, you can, like, this is totally like a product of its time, and it's like, why the hell were both of you in an airport? Like,
no, I know.
This was back when you could just show up to an airport bar.
I know you could go all the way and like send someone off, and you didn't have security.
Like, yeah.
Okay. So Company is a 1970 musical comedy by Sondheim. The Brecht of the musical theater.
Hey.
Sorry, sweetie. Oh, okay, now it makes sense. So April, I've never seen Company, I'm sorry, is a naive flight attendant self-described as dumb.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's adding some context now. Well, this got dark. And that's why you should be non-monogamous. 100% less flight attendants.
I used to date someone whose mother was an airline, was a flight steward. And we had a rule that we would never role play as each other's family's careers.
Fair.
which was difficult because, like, you know, on one hand, firefighter and airline steward, and for me, military and nurse.
You've
So it was,
covered
like,
all.
nothing. Yeah,
You've
It was,
covered all
like,
basically all blue collar.
It was French maid or like, you know,
CEO
exterminator.
maybe?
Like, yeah, CEO or exterminator with like really
Like a lawyer if you're really into master debating. Like,
and 1 year, I dated someone else and I got to be a fright attendant.
nice.
And I wore.
You could do librarian. I guess that's still on the table.
Yeah. Well, so it was for Halloween. I should have made that clear.
I just assumed that was sex.
Well, yeah, that was
okay.
the idea. So, like, I got this, like, for Halloween, I got, like, Torrid had a plus-size flight attendant.
They have a new Harry Potter line. It's lovely. Go on.
Like, costume. And so I had that, and I wore, like, zombie makeup.
Cool.
But my roommate's dog really freaked out at me having zombie makeup. So I just spent the whole party just, like, avoiding the dog and being yelled at by the dog. So I did not make the Mile High Club.
Aww.
There were no... I'm trying to think of, like, other...
Or the 3 feet off the ground club. So Justine and Billy are having breakfast at the diner. And Billy tries to get Justine to ditch rehearsal. And rags on Sam, calling him a hack of a hack because De Palma ripped off Hitchcock. So here we are. And Justine just storms off. And she says maybe she'll see him around.
What are your feelings on cake for breakfast?
Cake, yes. Carrot cake, never.
But that's
No.
like the healthiest cake.
Gross.
What?
No. You want to know what I want? I want Mexican chocolate cake.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Like, if I'm going to do this, I'll just wash it down with a bagel. It's fine.
While you were gone, I went and had brunch at Pretty Lady, which is like a 50s old-timey diner in Oakland. And I overheard this conversation, and I wanted to ask you about it. So this waiter was taking this person's order, and this person ordered something vegan. And so the waiter was like, well, okay, so are you hardcore vegan? Because this is like going to be cooked on a grill that also cooks bacon and sausage. And like, it felt to me like that this guy was now subjecting this woman to a test.
Negging, not just for meat eaters.
It definitely felt like, yeah, you should be inclusive, but like, I mean, are there vegans that are that intense?
Oh, well, yeah, but they usually only eat at vegan restaurants.
Right.
Like,
okay.
I mean, I've had somebody ask me that question before. We were at a pancake place in the mountains of New Hampshire. Live free or die, woot woot. And they said they had vegan pancakes as an offering. And they said, do you need us to use a different griddle? And I said, no, because I see that as like a thing that somebody does when they have allergies. It felt like a lot of work to put the kitchen through for that kind of thing. And that's a personal choice. But I feel like if you do that, it's kind of like when geek boys are like, what's the blood type of Superman?
See, I thought where that story was going to go is like, and then I found a chicken gizzard in my pancake.
No, they were wonderful blueberry pancakes, very delicious. But there's this like phenomenon that happens when you're a vegan, which I get. Like, I think a lot of vegans are assholes, especially a lot of their belief systems, and I think it kind of depends on how you get into veganism. And whether it's accessible to you at all. I think that all of these caveats are important because it is fundamentally a kind of problematic thing to be. And so it's good to be aware of that and to kind of be cognizant of that. But there is this entire thing where somebody feels the need to go, did you know that no food is vegan? Because according to the government, you can have a certain number of dead rats in food and it's fine. And you have to deal with that more often than you'd think.
Pancakes are always a source of anxiety. They have been a source of anxiety for me ever since cooking school. Because one day that was like the lesson for the day. I was making pancakes.
Okay.
And I walked up to a station, and there was like nonstick spray. And I was like,
Pam.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is what we should use. And then the instructor caught me using it and then came over and chided me in front of everyone. Because, like, butter's good for you. Just use butter. And so, like...
Was Julie a child, your instructor?
No, but he was French.
There it is. Deep fried butter, invented by the French. Pass that on. God, that'll make them so mad.
I think it's fine. fucked up that it's like their second date and like Billy's already trying to get Justine to like estrange herself from her social commitments and just hang around with him eating carrot cake?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a couple things here that I guess as somebody who has dated men a lot more recently than you have. Some context. So they're both 19. When I had a boyfriend at 19 who did turn out to be a perfectly lovely human being, he would kind of do this thing where he would kind of assume that I'd always be around. And then a couple times where I wasn't around because I'd made other plans and he assumed that I would be, he got salty. There's just a self-focusedness about being like a 19-year-old white dude that I think is very present. And as soon as I pointed that out to him, he did like adjust his behavior. As we see, Billy Awful does not here. I didn't necessarily see it as him trying to ostracize her from her social circle, although I could totally see why you would see that. And I think that that's probably kind of a darker interpretation than I took. It's more that he's kind of like threatened that she has something else to do, which is equally insidious, I think. And like her career is kind of already like not important because they're 19. What's it matter? Sex and cake, my dick, just pointing at penises, kind of things. And I think the fact that like she dumped him because she thought that Sam Sylvia was hacky because of like the boobs and the blood thing was sort of like she dumped him for being too much of a male feminist. And that makes it kind of better. R.I.P. Joss Whedon. And she says, maybe I'll see you around, which is like the most passive aggressive thing I've ever heard. And it's phenomenal.
So in our next scene, Ruth is accosting Gregory, the hotel manager. He originally thinks that she's complaining that they're out of Diet Orange Soda, which led me on this weird rabbit hole of Fanta production history.
Okay. So do you mix Fanta with your Coke?
See, sometimes I am not a huge Fanta drinker.
Interesting.
Because if I'm drinking soda, I want it to have caffeine. Like, I want there to be some nominal benefit to me.
Oh, interesting.
For drinking this like fucking sludge.
Yeah, I didn't know that soda had caffeine in it until my doctor said, hello, I need you to drink way less caffeine. And I was like, oh, this isn't a fuck. And I had no idea. So that's really interesting that that's kind of a perk for you. It was literally something I didn't know.
When I was in second grade, they revealed that Coke had caffeine in it by doing this thing where the dare officer would come and, you know, it'd be like, all right, well, how many of you, like, they'd be like, well, you've all done drugs. And everyone would be like, pish posh! No!
I'm sorry.
I'm a good girl!
Did you go through DARE in 1958?
Well, I did go through DARE in Germany.
Good point. Achtung!
Yeah. So then it would be like, okay, well, you know, then they would name all the drugs and everyone would put their hands down and then it would eventually be like cold medicine, Coke, you know, and then be like, see, drugs are good. The issue is drug abuse.
That is the most enlightened form of DARE I've ever heard. Okay, so this is sort of a weird tie-in that just came to me. I ran into DARE recently. Mm-hmm. They were outside of Chipotle, which seems appropriate.
I didn't know they were still around.
I didn't either, because they literally walked up to me and I'm like, hello, you still exist? And they said, yes, and we don't use the scare tactics anymore. And I went, ha-ha, and
I
kept
thought
going.
they'd all like quit to join a Steely Dan cover band. Like, what are they all doing?
So my best friend's DARE officer was convicted of raping 5 girls. Yikes, right? So for me, I'm like, DARE is terrible. But they actually found out that DARE was completely 100% ineffective. So they developed STAR, which is DARE, but spelled different. So I guess DARE is back. It's been remarketed. It's like New Coke. It's Crystal Pepsi. It's all the things. But yeah, DARE was always a really weird program in that I did actually find it very effective for me avoiding drugs. Not that I was necessarily interested in it, although until recently. Sorry, Mom. But I'm almost 30, so fuck off. You win. You can call this a win.
Stop rubbing it in that your mom supports you and listens to your podcasts, all right? Like...
No, my mother actually. So my mother made this joke is that when she went into the military, she was convinced that the only 2 people, my mother and my father, were the people that answered honestly when they were asked if they'd ever done an illegal drug at that time. Well, this is still true, but weed was a federally contraband drug. But so my mother was like, so is it like alcohol where you can have a little and then you can like do a lot? She has no concept, no frame of like how to do any of this or like what it like looks like or how it is. And so I just thought it was really kind of precious.
Yeah.
And then also I'm like, Mom, you know that like one of my sisters is a straight up pothead. I am not the person to ask.
I was talking with my mom about weed delivery and how you can get weed delivered in California. She's like, that must be a dangerous job. And I was like, yeah, vanilla wafer overdose. Huge epidemic right now in California. And she's like, no, just like you would be robbed a lot. And I was like, no, like,
Yeah, weed's ubiquitous.
yeah,
It is. We did it. We did the thing where we flooded the market. And now everybody can basically stumble into it in their backyard.
Yeah. Like when I might, still in the works. We gotta cross some I's and dot some T's, but I might work for a weed company, and when I was telling people like, yeah, I might work with this weed company doing marketing copy. People were like, who the hell buys weed? Like, you just go to the bar.
That's sort of true.
It's just, yeah, it's true. I mean, I've lived in California almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years. It'll be 10 years next month.
You guys have been friends on Facebook for 10 years. Let's see the video that they make you.
And I've never had my card because I've never needed it.
Yeah. I do have to say this, that like Dare worked. Weed is not my drug of choice. I definitely smoked it the night of the election, in which I was at a bar that did not serve liquor, Michael, and had a meltdown in the Mission. But that wasn't really marijuana's fault. That was a lot of people's fault.
You had a better night than I did. I brought a book to a sex party.
I'm not sure I had a better night than you did.
I brought a book about the history of the pepper trade.
God, you're my favorite. I don't know why anyone would critique you for that.
Oh, I got quite the critique from several people in several stages of undress. So Gregory, we learned his name, mistakes the phrase "pick your brain" to mean an offer for sex.
Well, actually, busting brains was like for a second a euphemism for oral sex.
I've never heard that.
It's more of a Detroit type thing.
Okay.
But yes, that was for a second, like considered when I was a young whippersnapper.
You're still a whippersnapper.
I know. I'm a whippersnapper, but it's it's over. I'm on the wrong side of 25. It's kind of the best.
I was making a kink joke.
Oh.
I was seeing you and your identity as a dominant woman and affirming you.
That I'm a whippersnapper? I guess it sort of is true.
Never mind. Whatever. So he brushes her off by saying that he's going to a family function.
He's putting on a rather nice suit at this time. Like it's a full wool suit, which seems a little warm for.
And he just doesn't want to hang out with her. And
oh God, who could blame him? Like Ruth is like, she's just like, hello,
so
dude.
He keeps brushing her off, but eventually he relents because Ruth gives this like super earnest plea about wanting to better represent Russian culture. She says you deserve better than Boris and Natasha.
No, she is right now exhibiting the grooming behavior that like white feminism and really any single like suppression entity and vehicle uses to get the marginalized to hand over some aspect of themselves. Yeah. Whether it be paying $50 for you to parade your trauma out there or whatever your fucking deal is. Her shits is the oldest shit in the book. And she does not deliver better than Boris and Natasha. She delivers some sort of subpar version of both.
Ruth really is like
she's white feminism
as an Exo Jane confessional come to life.
100%. You know that Ruth at some point really did think that she was born in the wrong time. And that she needed to own a typewriter. And that thought that because she was not allowed to go to the botanical gardens in full Edwardian getup that she was being oppressed. At me. I dare you.
We are the wrestling podcast with the least amount of wrestling on it. And I put that on our tombstones.
Well, that's okay. All of my partners have to have the same tombstone that reads, "I'm with stupid," with an arrow pointing to mine.
Wait, so are you just being... are you being buried with the 2 partners you have now, or whatever partners you have at the end?
So I said
this sounds vaguely Pharaoh-ish.
No, I'm not executing them to all circle them around. It's not like that. But no, I mentioned that to Paul, our beloved producer. And he said, yes, but all of them, because he presumed I was going to accumulate some sort of horde in which there was going to be like 25 circles of tombstones with big arrows pointing towards me. I'm not saying it's a fetish now, but we're getting there. Anyway.
Being a pallbearer is the ultimate emotional labor when you come to think about it.
Right now, what we're exhibiting is like what every like monogamous person fears non-monogamy is. Like, I'm not even shitting with you. So Justine and Godiva, Rhonda, Britannica, person, Kate Nash, and they're
Misty from, like, doesn't she look like, in that outfit, she looks like Misty from Pokemon?
I don't know what that is, but she looks like, what's her name from Teen Witch?
I don't know what that is.
See, we're fair. It's even now. And I guess you could call them routines. They're kind of working on sort of the intro stuff. I think it's sort of refreshing to see them not just like practice the wrestling part, but actually practice like the lead and then the character development. And I know that they have to lead that in order for people like me to get the show. But Britannica calls Scab a gutter snipe.
It's another word for like ragamuffin, homeless child.
Wow, like foundling. Like why don't we just get them all out? Like. And Godiva reveals to Justine that she's been sleeping with Sam with the weirdest way possible. They really dropped this shit in like bird shit. Because she's just like, you're just jealous of my horse. And then Justine's like, what? And she's like, oh yeah, Sam's getting me a horse so I can be in his next film. It was a weird little like non-linear connection.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. That this was like, she was supposed to be Godiva.
Yeah. You've been calling it forever. And this seems to really dishearten Justine, that the fact that he's like hooking up with Rhonda. And she sort of describes like, because some of it is that Justine's jealousy manifests like, oh, you read his script? Because like, you know, like Justine knows the name of it and Rhonda doesn't. Rhonda is kind of going on and on about sort of how kind of not good sleep she gets listening to Sam read his manuscript to her, which is sort of sad for me because as an artist, because this is always like my greatest fear that like my partners are doing this. So she's kind of the asshole boyfriend, which is kind of a nice little like reprieve of making her kind of too good and pure, because she's already was living in her car. She's gorgeous and she's resorted to fucking Mark Maron, who we all are supposed to see as sort of like a power upgrade, but like a sexuality downgrade, because that's how this shit's always played. And so to have her kind of be just like the asshole and not care is kind of like a nice little textural point.
Something that I enjoyed about living in your house while you were gone is I could listen to podcasts at full volume while I slept. So I like listening to podcasts while I sleep.
Huh.
I like not feeling alone in my room, which I'm sure is something I should talk about with a therapist.
It sounds like you're an extrovert.
So like,
yuck.
So like, you know, I'll watch a movie while I'm sleeping, or I'll have, you know, whatever. I
kind of do that, only it's like, I feel really, really comfortable in a room where there are people I can ignore.
Yeah. Well, so like a lot of the like podcasts I listen to will be like, you know, podcasts where like a bunch of friends are talking about a movie. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like, you know, I wake up at 3 a.m. and they're like, oh, they're talking about Christmas with the Cranks. Okay. Whatever. I'm not missing anything. I'm just glad they're having fun.
You literally are not.
I mean, it's like, I don't like sleeping with the lights out. So like, I like to sleep on with like a light somewhere in the house.
Okay.
And with a podcast on, because like turning everything off and turning off the lights and getting into bed is like really anxiety inducing. It's like, now it's like, all right, go to sleep right now. Do it. You know, like it feels like pressure.
Your inner monologue is very intense.
Yes.
It's like a tiny drill. It's like your inner monologue is Patton. General, not Oswald. Actually, maybe Oswald.
But I can't usually do that when I'm like when I'm dating people, because that's weird.
It's not that it's weird. It's distracting.
It's distracting.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Reframing. I'm not weird. I have different needs. Confidence doming. It's the only thing I offer. am open for payment. Go on.
At family function,
Ruth
learns that Gregory is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's this, like, so, you know, he mentions that they're Jewish, and she's like, I didn't know you're Jewish. And he's like, I wear a giant chai. And, like, hold up. Like, you call her a whore every day.
Yeah.
Like, why is she...
Or go away, not fixing, one of those.
You know, like that is this moment where, like, it is very clearly meant to portray Ruth as, like, self-involved and uninterested in people, but, like, you know, I get fucking catcalled by men every day. I don't stop and, like, ask them, you know, what side they supported in the Spanish Civil War. You know, like...
No, I get that. Yeah, no one's the hero of the story, which I kind of like that Glow commits to fully, is that everybody has a moment for them, like, of the foreground people. And the choice that gets made between foreground and background is highly problematic. But for the foreground people, they're very deeply flawed. Even if they are only in the foreground for a brief amount of time, which I do enjoy about this. To me, it gives it real life kind of cottage cheesy texture. But yeah, no, I'm with you there. Like, he's bitching to bitch because he has so many things he could actually bitch about her personality.
Yeah. So this, you know, this party is like a huge Jewish banquet. They have a giant horse head made of ice, and every time they drink vodka, they have to drink it poured down like the horse's head.
Yep, that's pretty normal actually if you have an ice sculpture.
Really?
Yeah. That's pretty typical.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's like Body Shots, but a little less gross. But it's a giant horse head, not because they're super into horses, but because he's very good at chess. The Michael, I believe is
Michael the cousin.
Michael the cousin, nephew, weird teenager they scrounged up to be the subject of this party.
And so they are Jews, and they immigrated from the Soviet Union. And Gregory has this line that the Soviet Union likes Jews only slightly more than faggots. Do you know what a tanky is?
Well, no, I'm not familiar with the term.
Well, they would hate this episode.
Yeah, I'm sure. Could you unpack it for me?
Well, tankies are authoritarian leftists. They're people who believe that Stalin did nothing wrong, that Mao did nothing wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Is
this sort of like hearing like about a mummification fetish? Like, my reaction is, I've never heard that term, but of course that exists. So it's like, I know what you technically are talking about, but I just didn't necessarily know the term.
I bring it up just because, you know, one thing that tankies get really bent out of shape about is discussions of oppression under communism.
Yeah.
The Soviet Union criminalized homosexuality, male homosexuality,
which is sort of stuck even after the fall of the Soviet Union. For those who don't have Google anymore,
and there was a ton of anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union.
Of course.
I mean, that's like part of why Trotsky had to leave and go to Mexico. They don't want to talk about that, or like, you know, there was a ton of homophobia and like torture of LGBT people, and you know, in other like communist or socialist states, and like they never want to talk about that. They always want to like contextualize that within the context of like, well, yeah, they tortured all these people, but also like they were up against, you know, the empire.
I'm kind of over this bullshit of like moralistic, like, oh, well, of course they went and tortured these people on moral grounds because they were being pursued on other realms. Like, we don't have to excuse that like kind of persecution. That's not actually required.
Well, and this is why I'm an anarchist. Like, I'm an anarcho-communist. Is that the Hamilton rule, right? Have I told you about the Hamilton rule?
Which one? You'll have to be more specific.
I have a rule about Hamilton.
Okay.
Well, it's a rule that I started in Hamilton. I made a conscious decision when I saw Hamilton, because I got to see it in San Francisco, that I didn't give a fuck about any of them, because they were all states. They were all
they're all stateies.
Yeah,
100%.
Fuck them.
They're old-fashioned liberals.
Yeah, they're just like a bunch of like, you know, stateies who cheat on their wives and like drink too much, you know, Applejack. And
oh God, that shit's terrible. I know I'm betraying my people, but that shit is nasty.
And so I'm just here for the songs and the dance and the human struggle. I don't have a personal political investment, and that's how I feel within most discourse. Like in most political discourse, everyone's an asshole because, you know, only my way is fair and just.
Well, yeah, I definitely subscribe to that too. I enjoy you in your anarcho-communist ways, but as an anarcho-socialist, I'm like, no, you should be forced to get along with people even if you don't like them. Because what if you don't like me and I get to die in the desert?
I had to have this talk with someone where someone was like, would you date a non-communist? And I was like, I'm an anarcho-communist. There's only 4 of us.
Yeah, you're a
Like,
minority. You're a pretty like distant minority for sure.
Like that gets old very quick.
Yeah. And honestly, of the 4, would you choose any of them for your like communistic like enterprise?
As I am the only woman. No.
Right. That is what I thought. That's okay. So Debbie tries working on a segment with Welfare Queen, which had a lot of potential, actually, but Debbie won't play along, and no one else likes her, so they cheer for Welfare Queen. It's just an example of the heel really stealing the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was this great segment where, like, Welfare Queen keeps telling Debbie that she's seen her in the frozen food aisle, and Debbie keeps saying no.
Yeah, I only eat vegetables,
Yeah.
which I'm like, bitch, we are 15 years away from that. Like, aluminum foil was invented. You were the least relatable person.
Like, improv is definitely a thing by now. Everyone knows not to say no.
Yeah, exactly. It's yes and.
But, like, it leads to this moment where, like, Welfare Queen's like, you're a stone cold bitch.
Yeah. And I would like to say that she's kind of like accusing her of basically like being in the frozen food aisle. And the feeder porn I want is where Debbie is down to eating fish sticks. Like, so badly.
That is probably, if we looked at all of the, like, glow slash fic that is out there right now, that is probably the most respectful premise for a glow porn that's come out so far.
Stay tuned for our blog, which now will feature my glow slash fic. So, Debbie jealous. Debbie scorned. She walks out of the ring while Welfare Queen showboats and tells Sam to find someone else. And, I mean, how do we say this about basically somebody that, like, owned the ring for so many years? Welfare Queen, whose real name now escapes me, Jetta.
In real life or
Yes,
in the show?
in real life.
Oh,
yeah, the shows were lost. It's lost to time.
Well, in the show, her name's Tammy.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Okay. It is Tammy, Tamme with an accent.
Oh, I would have thought it was like LeMay, so Teme.
It might be Tamme, actually.
Huh.
I didn't think it would be because usually when something is like Leme or Tamme, it would be 1 M, but there are 2 M's.
Oh,
so that's
yeah,
why.
that's true.
Yeah.
Huh. We got nothing.
We would know if they said her name.
Right, exactly, because she's not a person.
But her shoot name is Kia Stevens.
Oh, Kia Stevens, yes. Kia Stevens is amazing. And it's sort of like weird to me that she's the breakout star because like she had so much time in which she was already a star. But she's wonderful. She's really the one I'm rooting for. Like she of all the characters, like, and there's a lot of characters that I really want brought to the front. Arthi, Jenny, whose stage name I won't say. I want them thrown to the front. And Kia Stevens is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Back at family function. Gregory doesn't want Ruth to bother any of the other guests because you want real experience but keep asking stupid questions. And again, you can just fucking at me. You don't have to be a passive-aggressive little shit.
He has this line that I love where he says, "We didn't all work in factories and write sad poetry."
Yeah. It's a little bit like how we like romanticize like hobo life.
Yeah.
Like, there's like this weird So Ruth insists on speaking to his family members in an offensive Russian accent. She's very drunk at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that is definitely something you're supposed to take away from it. And she tries comparing the struggles of Jews under the Soviet Union, which were immense, to Yentl. And this leads to her being made to sing a song from Yentl to comfort the recently Brist.
I don't know what the past tense of that
I
is.
don't know.
Like, is it breed? Like,
yeah. Michael,
Brist?
the 17... Probably.
Barista? No.
Not barista.
No.
Okay.
I was sober up after the intermission.
Michael he's like 17. He's finally able to immigrate to the U.S. where he can get a circumcision, essentially, is the premise. And so in a very, very insensitive, intense scene, he gets like pinned down, and then there's like a rabbi, and then there's like a shield, and then he's supposed to get his foreskin cut off. And so he's like panicking and crying for vodka, and asks her to sing a song from Yentl, which this was written by a musical theater major, because that's like every musical theater major's fucking dream, to be in the middle of a crowd making an ass of yourself at a drunken party and being begged to sing. Like, give me a fucking break. Also, am I the only person on the planet who's like meh to Barbra Streisand, especially to Yentl? I have a lot of feelings, especially about musical theater. But yes, she sings a song from Yentl that I didn't even recognize.
Yeah, I've never seen Yentl.
It's long. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
And Mandy Patinkin's in it, and he is lovely.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
But yes, no, it's just...
I forgot. They mentioned sturgeon on rye bread. That's a traditional Jewish deli thing.
Oh, that's right. You had the note up here.
Yeah. How do you feel about rye bread? Can you eat rye bread? I don't.
I can eat rye bread. It's delicious. I'm still German enough. Like...
Well, I don't know what goes... I'm not vegan, so
I'm giving her the face that she gave that guy that, like, went and vegan policed that other person in that fucking diner you were in. Yes, rye bread is on the table. Like, egg noodles and dumplings are generally off.
Right, okay.
And a lot of bagels are on the table, unless they have an egg wash.
Okay.
Rye bread is delicious.
I love it. I always, like...
I was never a big, like, salami fan or anything, but I still really loved rye bread.
Mm-hmm.
It's num-num.
Yeah, I always forget how good rye bread is, and then I have rye bread at a deli, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is really good.
I know.
I should remember to buy this, and then by the time
it's not versatile. It doesn't take peanut
well,
butter.
then by the time yeah, true. By the time now I'm gonna do a food blog post where I try to do that, because now I have to know what that tastes like. But by the time you go grocery shopping, you're hangry and you're just like, fucking 99-cent bread. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so it's like, you know, the bland stuff is sort of like the craft cheese, or like, I can do something with this.
Well, while you were gone, a meal that I made myself a couple times was I would fry a piece of bread and then I would pour canned spaghetti over it.
Oh, so it's kind of like Cincinnati chili.
Yeah, it's a thing they do in like Australia and New Zealand.
How was it?
I mean, it was good. I'm glad you did not see me eating it. But it did the job, and I am still here today.
You are. All right, well done. Well,
right.
On that note, why don't you pour your spaghetti over your bread, or whatever snack you prefer, and let's cut to intermission.
David McLean is just like a lonely deer. Yeah. He'll do anything for a buck.
All right, so it's intermission. And during intermission, we explain something to Lauren. We Wrestlesplain. God, why did it take me 6 episodes to think of that? Okay, all right.
Jesus. Should have been the name of the goddamn podcast. You know why, Jetta? You lack male privilege.
True.
What you don't know right now is our producer's in the room, and he's sobbing on our couch.
And I almost didn't. I almost didn't let him in the apartment because I just saw a disembodied arm wave at me through the window. That's
your fault. You leave the blinds down like we're fucking being scouted.
I think it's great that you think your neighbors are not going to try and peek into your apartment to see if you're naked. But I live in a world where there is no pity.
I assume that they will, and I don't care.
So the term we are discussing today is work rate. So in wrestling, your work rate is how often you do moves. So in wrestling there are things that are called rest holds. That's like a chin lock, or
is it that arm thing they keep the only
no, that is
they've learned? Okay.
No, not really. But a rest hold's like a move that you can do that looks like a move, but is really just a chance for you to take a breather.
Okay.
And maybe communicate a couple spots to your opponent. And people who have good work rates have fewer rest holds. They do
okay, that makes sense.
They move around a lot, whereas wrestlers with bad work rates have to do a lot of rest holds, a lot of stalling. So a lot of heels, especially older heels, will do this thing where they just stall by just constantly walking around the ring and then only getting back to avoid countouts.
Or arguing with the ref, I imagine, would be another way to do that. That's probably not technically, but I've seen that used as that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so would that fall? So,
Debbie has an abysmal work rate.
wow, yeah. Well, it's because she's a shitty ass wrestler. Even I know that.
Yeah. Ruth has an amazing work rate.
Yeah. No, God. She'll throw herself around the ring. She doesn't even need you. She's
Glorious work rate revolution.
Yeah, exactly. She's definitely the woman that has all of the toys ready and you are optional. So what would be the work rate of like, is that used to kind of like appraise the value of a wrestler, or is it just
No, I mean, it's just used by like fucking nerds who like want a reason to like praise or disparage a wrestler but not use their feelings. So rather than just saying, I don't really like this wrestler, he just doesn't do it for me, they have to be like, I think that his work rate's declining, or, you know.
You know, I'm taking this back. I can just not like things because I just don't. I don't have to have a reason.
Right.
And so can you. And so I want to empower everyone to, instead of coming up with imaginary fake ass reasons to not like someone or something, you can just go, and be done. We can be done with this. We are not all the lit professors of our own lives.
That came from a real place.
It did. It came from a very real place. It's all the social justice I've been running around in the last several years.
So, so in this scene, we have Debbie is trying to work with Arthi, who runs around so Debbie can't catch her.
It's so funny. It's so funny because the entire punchline is, haha, you're old. And so she's jumping around and is actually difficult to kind of catch, which is pretty much how we sort of describe terrorism. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty good actually, in as far as a gimmick. Like it's pretty efficient, and it's just funny to see like Debbie as America wheezing, and like leaning against the ropes, labored breathing. It's just, again, like clearly Debbie is like a metaphor for America because she's ultimately assumes that she is the hero, even if she's only been like kind of slightly wronged. And is kind of acting out completely out of pocket, she will be like, oh, but, you know, I'm still the hero and I just am. Like, she just defaults to that. And it's sort of funny to see that kind of be played with in a really kind of visual way in this episode.
I think of all the characters in the show, if I had to pick like one character that I really feel has been under, I mean, they're all underdeveloped.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, to take your own advice and just have feelings.
You're allowed to have
cut
them.
to the feeling, in the words of our Lord and Savior Carly Rae.
Oh, I love that song.
To cut to the feeling. I want more of her. I want more, like there's so much to that character that I want to explore.
Debbie or Arthi?
Arthi.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm done with Debbie.
Yeah. I would agree. She's one I want to really see developed. Debbie, I like, but like Vicky the Viking, Like, I don't really need her to be more developed for me. Even, like, Sheila has, I think, had her moment for me. But Arthi, I feel like, has never gotten her spotlight. Like, she is definitely a supporting character.
I mean, she also has her origin
is so interesting.
Like, she's a med student, but she's never implied, she does never imply that she's, like, been in television before.
Yeah.
Like, so she's in med school.
And her grandmother watches wrestling but doesn't even speak English. Like, there's this weird connection for her that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And she's very, like, observant. So when Justine's having her meltdown about Flock of Seagulls, you know, she's just like, I'm going to order a pizza and then I'm going to leave for 45 minutes because I cannot fucking listen to you anymore. Like, she's so wonderful and sweet. So then Debbie squares off with Sheila, who won't respond to Debbie constantly asking her if she wants to bite her, specifically on her butt. And I mean, Debbie just was asking the wrong person. I am available. I am easy to find. My Twitter is public. I'm just saying. So Debbie uncooperative. Debbie frustrated. This is my favorite of our gimmicks. And Cherry leaves practice early, saying that she'll come back when Sam and Debbie are ready to get back to actual work. She says you have 12 other people that are working their asses off, and the pair of you are squabbling.
There's this great like right at the end of you know, Debbie having her Goldilocks montage. You know, she just says that, like, no one's working for her, and, like, unless Sam wants to get another
brand name actress.
Yeah. That, you know, like, they'll do what she wants. And then he's like, and he goes, you're right, we'll find someone you're comfortable with. And, like, that that I do that all the time,
Yep.
where I try to make a concession to someone that is so unreasonable that I'm trying to highlight to them how unreasonable what they're asking me is, and then they're like, yes.
Good, I'm glad you agree.
Which is how I slept on your couch for 2 weeks.
Well, I was sort of trying to explain this to one of my partners, because he was like, he prefers direct communication, and that's great. But there's a very big part of being like socialized female for me, where like if I have to tell you directly why I'm mad at you, it's because you missed the 12 nonverbal cues I sent you.
Yeah.
And so when someone comes to me with a confrontation, it's because I presume that I've missed the 12 nonverbal cues they've sent me. And that's like my fuck up. So by the time I come to somebody with something, I'm really upset about it. And so like for her to kind of ignore that transaction is to, in some ways I take it so much worse than from women, specific, kinds of women, because I'm like, you should know better, which is not always fair, actually. But that's, Debbie does shit wrong. Like she's just lording this over everybody, and is really like, you had Ruth go up there and throw herself around a ring like fucking Robin Williams Twyla Birdcage style to audition to be the person you beat up. What more do you need? What's your damage,
And you're married
Heather?
to the guy from the Big Boy restaurants.
Right. Like, what is your damage, Heather? Like, come on. Get your shit together.
When I said that joke about Big Boy.
No, he looks exactly like Big
yeah,
Boy.
No, I got this taste in the back of my throat. So it's been like decades since I've been to a Big Boy.
Yeah.
And to me,
Ditto.
There's a smell I associate with being inside of a Big Boy, and it's like maple syrup and like ashtrays.
Yeah. I think
like
it was
a-
one of the last like diners like that where you could smoke.
Yeah.
Denny's might have done it too, but yeah.
After Cherry storms off, Sam.
I want her to have more of a character.
Yeah.
Like I think she serves incredible plot purpose, but like she's not a person, and that bothers me. That's all I have to say.
Justine walks in on Sam peeing.
With headphones in.
Yeah.
It's very like,
And that
it's very intentional. It's what it is.
and they get into an argument because Justine calls him an old man.
It's interesting. There's like this patronizing thing going on where it's like,
Okay, sorry. So I have to come clean.
Yep.
I mean, so when we first started this podcast, I wanted to watch all of the episodes as we reviewed them, so that I could approach each episode of our podcast and each review with, a beginner's mind, to appropriate a thing that's already like to reappropriate an appropriated thing. It's a yoga term. I don't know if
which one?
beginner's mind. It's like a yoga term,
Oh, interesting.
I think. I have a white yogi friend that used it all the time. So I don't know.
That sounds like something some shitty ass white yogi would say.
But then I went through a divorce,
Right.
And so I fell off the wagon, so to speak, and watched them all. And you watched me do it.
I did nothing. I was definitely like the friend who was encouraging you to do pot at the 1980s Reefer Madness. Like, don't do it. And I'm like, no, go ahead. You see foreshadowing of what inevitably comes
well,
to plot
I
point.
mean, it's that, and also this show is different when you're going through a breakup, and like, a lot. So like, when we first started the show, when we first started this podcast, like I was kind of blithe and flippant about like the issues with like Ruth and Debbie and like a lot of Debbie's pain. But now I'm going through that, and I still don't like Debbie, but
yeah,
a lot of like the interactions between her and Ruth, because really the breakup is her and Ruth.
yeah,
And
that's the loss.
Yeah.
Because like, and it's not that Mark didn't mean anything to her and that wasn't like an important status symbol, but I think that the violation there is the fact that like my best friend, really, and she's unkind. Debbie is a fundamentally unkind person. Doesn't mean that people that are unkind deserve to be like fucked over? No, I think when you play that game that, people that play shitty games get shitty prizes. She has to stare at Ruth every day for hours a day and then has to go home to her baby who looks like her husband who fucked Ruth, who she just spent 16 hours today with. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But back to Justine and Sam.
So, she tells him that he's selling out and that he's a misogynist and that he only respects women he's fucking. And he tries to pull some like authoritarian, you better shape up or I'll fire you. And then she points out that he has piss on his pants.
Yeah, there's definitely like a father-daughter thing going on there. Like that kind of dynamic.
Uh-huh. I guess this is the first episode that we've ever done where we'll have to put a spoiler alert.
Nah, I mean, honestly, you've all beat us, but I think it's also like that's the point. Is there's supposed to be kind of droppings of that, like her fascination, and he says her weird stalkery ass. So it's like he doesn't read it. We're definitely supposed to read everything from his perspective in this.
Right? True. Because
we don't really understand her disappointment. Like, why is she surprised? And like, I could totally see her like being like let down that her idol is like fucking Rhonda, who doesn't even appreciate his work.
True.
Like, she's in this case the nice guy.
Yeah.
When you make a show without men, you get to like really critique women and like how female hierarchies uphold patriarchy. It's fascinating.
When you try to be nice to a man, but he just puts you in the not daughter zone. So we get one more Goldilocks moment with Debbie, where she goes up against Vicky the Viking, who just deadlifts her and throws her right on her shoulder, screaming, "I was Liberty Bell!"
Yeah, so Vicky the Viking, I know I'm supposed to care about her, but I don't. Like, on the one hand, this is the one thing where I'm like, yeah, Debbie felt entitled to kind of steal a role. And I could see why Vicky would be pissed, but ultimately I'm like, the unsympathetic uber butch. But I was just like, ow, Debbie. I'm amazed that Vicky didn't get fired. I'm amazed. Because Debbie was definitely pushing for this.
Well, see, I think that all of this has been Sam's plan.
Oh, like he was
think that
shaming her into a corner.
I think that he's
like, all right, go against the Viking. Boom.
I think all of it. I think that I feel like there is some like implication of this in the show itself, like when you look at him and like the way he reacts. But like, I think he set up all these. I think that he's coached everyone to be as difficult to work with her as possible.
That kind of makes me like him more.
Yeah.
Again, as somebody who, whether I like it or not, and who immediately after watching like the first 3 episodes texted Jetta and went, "I'm fucking Mark Maron, aren't I?" Well, and she said, like, in everything.
So the thing is, like, Mark Maron, Sam, like, Welfare Queen's the only character he has fleshed out. She's the only character he has a vision for.
Yes.
Like, Liberty Bell and Liberty Bell and Zoya the Destroyer is just like, it's the title card. It's this like big.
It's the contentious match. But Zoya did all the work on her own. Like, Ruth did all the work for Zoya that even exists.
Yeah. Like he doesn't have a plan for anyone else but Welfare Queen. So like, I think that he had a plan for her and Debbie, but like, I mean, I think.
And Bash has one for
like,
Machu Picchu.
Yeah. But like Arthi, like, Arthi's kind of out of character in the way that she's like being purposely difficult, with Debbie, and Sheila is just like being very deadpan. Like we see later in the series when Sheila does play along with the fucking mangy, like, she-wolf thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that
you're blowing my mind right now, Jetta. This conspiracy theory is not Alex Jones. This might check out.
So I think that Sam has been gaslighting Debbie from the beginning.
Again, I think I kind of respect it.
Yeah.
Not all gaslighting is bad. Hashtag not all gaslighting.
So Sam finally has what we call a come to Jesus.
Yeah, no, he had a come to Jesus talk with Debbie. I appreciate your phrasing because I use that all the time. But yes, and clearly in this scene, in which is a brilliant monologue of a tear down and build up, like a beautiful ebb and flow of that, Sam is clearly me. And I have given this monologue 9,000 times this week. So
I'm averting my eyes. You can't hear it, but I'm averting my eyes.
So is our producer. and my cat, weirdly. But basically he goes on about how he tells her how to be a professional, and she's like, well, I'm avoiding Ruth, and he says, fine, go back to being a stay-at-home mom. It's fucking boring. You'll become an ash heap of resentment. Like, your baby's fucking boring. They don't travel. They don't do anything. Like, just really gives her everything that we've kind of been wanting her to get. Like, just a reality check. It was really satisfying for me. But you had a note.
My note was just that negging babies is as close to emotional intimacy as Sam Sylvia gets.
As we see later when he tries to fuck his daughter.
Yeah.
Because Sam Sylvia is his own Greek chorus and is living out Electra.
So Ruth comes back to practice drunk.
Wicked drunk. Like, we saw her in the scene where she had at least 2 shots and some champagne, and she was like off her shit. She weighs maybe $110. Like, this would be a lot for her. And I
should have had that sturgeon on rye.
Yeah, I know. Would have soaked up some of that.
So we're actually going to just pull. This is one of the scenes where I am not comfortable quoting.
I told you directly that I would not say any of this.
So we're going to get Paul to just put all this dialogue in, and then we will comment on it.
Shalom, everyone. Shalom, mazel, mazel. I am Gittel, the Orthodox warrior. It's all about the Jews now.
The fuck is this?
I will beat you with a chicken. I will lock you up with my completely covered legs and guilt you into submission.
What now?
It's my new character. See, look, you're right. If Russia can't go to war with America, what's the point, right? So, I am gonna take the terrorist and we are gonna kill. I'm gonna build settlements all over your ass, and then you're gonna try to blow me up, but it won't work because I'm too clever and thrifty, and then I'll enter the ring with 17 children who have those little curls, and oh God, it's gonna be great. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Russians. Could have gone all the way with the Russians, who are pretty big Streisand fans, by the way. Then again, who isn't? I gotta adjust. So, it's all about going with the flow. Come on, bitch! Watch me drop some Talmud on your head.
I've been working on stuff with Melrose.
What am I supposed to do?
Typical whiny Soviet.
This is
one,
kinda...
I do not. I only took one Krav Maga class, but chickens did not feature in it at all.
Yeah, I don't actually know where the chickens came from. Nor did the silver cup make any fucking sense. She's brandishing a silver cup.
Yeah.
She didn't even bring in bingo, which was weird. That seemed like the first thing that the bubbies in their bingo. That's like a whole thing.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I associate bingo with drag queens because we live in the Bay Area.
Oh, right. No, it tends to be like, no offense to the senior Americans that listen, but it tends to be an older person gambling enterprise.
Okay.
And how bingo specifically operates in California is that a very large chunk of the money that's sort of brought in has to be given away, so it tends to kind of filter into charities. So that's why it sort of works. It's oftentimes run out of church or synagogue basements.
Oh, okay.
So because it's it's a charity thing. That's sort of that's how it gets around the whole gambling stigma.
Ah, I see. Have you seen the bingo documentary?
No.
It's amazing. We'll watch it.
Okay.
Okay, so another point. Those side curls that Hasidic and other Orthodox Jewish communities have, they're called peyots, or it's called a peyot. It's the plural is peyos, I think. I don't know the pronunciation. I'm one of these people where when I learned Spanish, I learned French before I learned Spanish. So all of my Spanish came out sounding like French.
Yeah.
And now like, now like all of my Hebrew sounding like Spanish. Well, because Los Payasos means the clowns in Spanish, and that was there was a wrestling team in Mexico called Los Payasos, and they wore giant rainbow pajamas.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, so I guess sort of what happens in the scene just kind of is that Ruth makes an ass of herself, and everybody looks on in kind of like fascination and horror, which is the only credit that I will give to this scene, is that people do seem dutifully horrified. Like, the response to this is, oh God.
Yeah.
Now, as somebody who has gotten into a very severe fight with someone while drunk on hammer and sickle, blackout drunk on hammer and sickle, one of the few times I've ever been blackout drunk, about poetry, I feel for her. But as somebody who got blackout drunk on hammer and sickle and fought about poetry rather than, say, Jewish culture, I'm still like, you're not off the hook. And at the end of the scene, Debbie kind of saves Ruth. That's how we're supposed to sort of see it, as she saves Ruth from her problematic self. Like, what is she going to do? Oh, I'm going to deign to wrestle you, which is clearly a metaphor for America. Mm-hmm. And she says this a line, I only dress in gray and build things out of cinder blocks. And I looked at Oakland's latest housing developments and just sort of shrugged, because that's what I'm kind of used to these days. But yeah, it's sort of like this desperation on the part of her friend makes Debbie decide that she can kind of deal with this. Oh, I will save my friend from doing a incredibly like racist and insensitive stereotype by allowing her to wrestle me. It's, again, like, Debbie's an imperfect hero, but it's like sells so well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very white feminist view of like racism, right?
100%.
It's like, the best thing to do is to channel that person's racism into a better, more creative outlet. Because I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's a really offensive
100%
rant. Like, not only is she like, not only does she conflate, Arthi, who is
Palestinians,
who is Indian, with Palestine, but also like talks about, like the Israeli occupation, and like,
which is still going on.
Yeah.
And still very much a problem. It's dreadful. It's super dreadful.
And there's like no pushback on that. Basically, Melrose is just like Melrose is just,
she's
like,
just stunned and horrified.
But it is, I did like that Melrose is standing up for Arthi.
Yeah.
It is sort of compelling to see how in the beginning of the show, Melrose was, when Melrose was like shitty to Ruth, like I felt that was kind of unearned and unfair.
It was a class exertion.
Yeah, but now like it's almost as if like Ruth is rising to the occasion.
Exactly. It also feels a little bit like a writer's cheat. It's like, oh, well, we've already been punching down on the black people, so let's switch to the Jews because they're white. Like, it felt like it's more safe to make fun of Jewish people. It's not, and you shouldn't. I guess it's my big progressive caveat was like, and so on the one hand, I like this segment in that it still facilitates that Ruth is a shitty ass individual. At least that's how I read it. Like, even though this is her like progression into her character, she's not like a better person for it. She's still like a highly problematic person.
This episode showed the work, and like actually like having like a nuanced understanding of like oppression and like homophobia and racism and misogyny, and Islamophobia, and anti-Semitism. But it's still wrong. Like, the answer was still wrong.
Yeah,
like,
no, totally.
Like, it's still...
okay.
It's still like, well, let's just watch this white woman be obnoxious.
Yeah.
And, the humor is in that she continues to be obnoxious.
And still be powerful. And if anything, she becomes more powerful for it because the more powerful white woman takes sympathy upon her.
Yeah. Or, even with the at family function.
Yeah.
Where Gregory's just like, fuck it, give her a microphone.
Yeah, no. For sure.
My favorite part of the show, period, is how, you know, so when Debbie and Ruth face off in the ring, it just brings all the girls to the yard. And that's my favorite part of the show, is like how excited all of these women who beforehand didn't give a fuck about wrestling become so excited for each other when they see each other doing the work.
There's a lot of femme solidarity in this show.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. And there's a lot of leaving space for people to succeed. And then there's a lot of taking space that's earned, which we'll see in later episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody takes any space unfairly as far as the quote background characters. The foreground characters are kind of, Debbie and Ruth are kind of a whole other deal, but everyone else is just it's solidarity laden, and it kind of like, you know, gives me the warms and fuzzies.
I hate capitalism, and I hate ahistoric reframing of the economic hardships of people living under socialism or communism.
Yep.
I hate that even more, but I loved that exchange when Ruth's like, in Soviet Union, we eat Stars and Stripes for breakfast. And then Debbie's like, that's because you don't have any food. Yeah. Like,
that was a really good one. Well, and you're supposed to see their chemistry there. You know,
Yeah.
it's supposed to, you know, that's supposed to be what it is. I mean, Sam got the read that he wanted.
yeah.
Kudos to Sam for pulling off the long con. And they lock up, and Ruth coaches Debbie to throw her. Of course, Ruth is tanked here, as a reminder. And Debbie would somehow facilitate it so that she has to wrestle Ruth while Ruth is drunk. But anyway, it ends with a beautiful throw. Debbie steps on Ruth and poses. And, you know, Ruth starts to say, you know, that this Cold War is only heating up. And then Debbie interrupts her. She's like, no, I get the last line. And she's like, freedom! Which is very Braveheart. So what I'm saying is, don't trust anybody that shouts freedom at you.
So we're back at the motel, and Billy is at the like motel office bar.
The front desk with Gregory, where there's no diet orange soda anymore. Like,
Straight edge people are weird.
I know.
Oh, that's something I wanted to complain about. Is like his zine's called Agnostic Toad. That's not contrarian or interesting. All toads are agnostic. They don't understand concepts of divinity. They're just toads. They only know about toad shit.
Okay, but Toad the Wet Sprocket was a band. Like, we have to understand that human beings will project any sort of weird shit onto anything remotely amphibian.
True.
We made the WB frog.
You know that he...
I broke Jetta with the dumbest joke ever.
You know that he precedes the WB network. It's important to me for some reason that you know this.
I don't know that.
Okay, he's from a very famous short. Where
Is Steamboat Willie in it?
Not today, Satan. Not today. But so Gregory tells Billy that so Gregory has this like catchphrase. Yeah. I have woman sometimes, and then gives a reason why she hates him.
Yeah, and so her name is Lupe, so she's not a Russian Jewish person.
Yeah,
she's the implication is that she's Chicano or Latinx, or Chicana or Latinx, and in fact the family asks for her, and they're like, "Where's Lupe?" Because they couldn't deal with Ruth anymore. And he's like, oh, she says I don't take her out enough, or that I don't listen. Like, he's always got a new thing that he has not done. And I'm like, maybe just do the thing, and then you won't have to hang out with Ruth. But, you know, I can't fix masculinity. So I have too much to do.
So Gregory says, I have women sometimes. She says I don't give enough pleasure with mouth. And then when Billy is like, I just like this girl, but I keep saying wrong things, he's like, maybe you should give pleasure with mouth and not say wrong things. And I want to talk about this because this struck a chord with me. So when you're a trans woman, specifically like a trans dyke or a trans woman that wants to date other whims and whims, you have a whim for femmes and women.
Yeah. Especially, I think, is it just cis women that you're kind of like pulling out of this, or other trans women as well?
Well, I mean, in this case, this specifically refers to like interactions I've had with cis women, but I mean, I date more than just cis women.
Right.
There's this like drive, tendency, desire in a lot of trans dykes to have a sort of sexual solidarity with cis women, like in the sense that like we care a lot about like female pleasure, and so you know we want to learn a lot about you know, cis women's bodies, and so like a lot of trans women I know get really into giving oral, and that can be a problem because you know men can be so braggadocious and so fucking so full of themselves and like their oral skills that like actually, you know, when I was younger in my 20s, like, you know, most of the women I dated were really into getting head. Now in my 30s, most of them don't because they've been dating men for, you know, a decade or more, and they've just like
given up on the sport altogether.
Just like men being like overconfident and in their oral capacities had just kind of ruined it. So like this scene like is very, it strikes a chord with my experience of like, well, now I see where this comes from. Also, I mean, I had to get a photo shoot today for a headshot for the website I work for, and the photographer shoots porn. And they were telling me about how like someone was hanging from the top, because like they had like one of those bondage beds, you know, and someone was hanging from the top bar of the bed while giving head, and then the whole bed just collapsed and broke. And I was just like, God damn it, you know, like, no wonder my girlfriend is not into receiving head.
Yeah. On the one hand, I really appreciate a man splaining to another man that he should shut up.
True.
I support this. I appreciate this sort of like weird accidental male feminism that is transpiring. And this might actually be good advice for everyone on the show, regardless of gender. And as far as like, I guess kind of like the oral solidarity, yeah, there's this, especially now, I think that I'm like reaching this age, and I don't know if this is always the case, but it sort of feels new, where like men will be like, yeah, I love giving head, and they don't actually ask if you're into it. There's like this whole like repertoire that ends up happening where everybody's trying to do the right thing and be like a good sex person. But when you approach it from the standpoint of toxic masculinity, where you're just like, I'm good at it because I declare myself so, and then I try the hardest without actually kind of receiving the feedback. Yeah, like, I don't know that in some ways I'm like, oh, this is kind of funny because I'm going to bet Billy didn't think about this. But on the other hand, I'm like, Billy isn't good at probably what we consider traditional heterosexual sex, of the mashing together of the genitals. I'm not going to imagine he's miraculously good at Game of Thrones style oral sex. I don't know that he's going to pull that rabbit out of his hairdo. It's just, I don't know that it's in there. But I feel bad for him because he is just a boy wearing too many bracelets, falling in love with a girl who's too cool for him. And have we not all been bracelets that have fallen in love with girls too cool for us?
There, but for the grace of God.
Go I.
And then our last scene is Justine sneaking into the gym after dark and stealing Sam's camera to the tune of Ready, Steady, Go by Generation X.
Which is, over the last several episodes, been the only song that Jetta and I both knew.
So that was episode 6.
Yep.
How did we feel about it?
So I had a lot of feelings about it, and I know that I kind of picked at it a little bit, but I really enjoyed it, actually. I like that we've kind of built the world. We've done the world building, and now we actually can kind of just exist in the world, and the awkwardness sort of seems to be moving along. I like that we're still committed to making Ruth and Debbie both suck, and they keep sucking in the ways that they suck. There's no like magical deviations, and it forces two kind of sucky people to collaborate to make something that doesn't suck. Like, I think there's something kind of valuable in that. I'm feeling more for the characters. I know them a little better. They're doing things that I can kind of anticipate and enjoy. And watching Justine dump that bad hair dude weirdo who looks like fucking Jim Carrey's The Grinch was just really satisfying for me. Because I'm like, at 19, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to storm out of a diner after a guy disagreed with me about something that I really cared about. But she did. And you know what? That is the change that I wish to be in the world. How did you feel, Jenna?
Wrestling and Marxism are two of my great loves, and I do hate it when they bicker.
I hate it when mommy and daddy fight.
Yeah. Debbie and Ruth are kind of performing this like anti-breakup.
Yeah. They have
You know?
to rebuild who they are through this long, weird therapy process with Mark Maron.
To shout it out one more time, going through divorce.
Babe.
It's all right.
Everyone send like Jetta some like positivity on the Facebook page or tweet us.
That's just like that's really real to see. I mean, it's different from like the your typical breakup in that like usually the hard part about a breakup is getting used to not having that person, whereas with this like it's getting used to having to be around that person.
Yeah. And you're convinced that more space would like ease your pain, but it wouldn't. Like, this is just a painful experience, and there's nothing to be done to make it an ideal space.
Debbie is insufferable, but I also appreciate that they are using her insufferability to give us more time to flesh out the other characters.
Yeah.
I really want to know more about Jenny and Arthie and Tammy and like right now, because like I know where this is going. We all know where this is going. Like
white girls end up on top.
Well, just like Debbie and Ruth are gonna have a match, and they're gonna have this like begrudging respect for each other, and like there's gonna be this like twinge of intimacy, and they won't be able to act on it.
It's a sports film. It's a sports film.
Yeah. It's and so I know that that's where that's going. And I don't mind that, but I would like to see along the way if we could just see more of these characters.
I find Debbie also insufferable, but Betty Gilpin, the person that plays her, makes her wonderful to watch.
Yeah, true.
I do want to say that as I'm not saying like in some ways I love the character because she is an excellent heel even though she's the baby face,
right?
Which is sort of the nice thing that they're playing with.
This show has a plan for all of us, and it does not involve getting the sisters any actual characterization. Yeah, I like it. I like that I see where we're going with it. And I'm, for the most part, okay with it. Not great with where Sam and Justina's going.
Why not? Her boyfriend will talk less and give more pleasure with mouth.
That's why your wife left you, dude. That's not how giving oral works. That's like when like we were in we'd be in like junior high and like boys would like open up Oreos and like scrape the the cream off and be like, look, I'm eating out this Oreo, and it's like I hope you never like I hope that you I'm sorry.
Cunnilingus is not that hard.
I know.
I don't understand it. I don't understand this like weird confusion as to how body parts work. If you need instructions, we're here. At us. What did I learn this week? So I learned that wrestling fans, like fans of all things, are very officious, and when they don't know why they don't like someone, they'll just complain about their work rate, which is the rate at which they do moves or not moves.
Atta girl.
Because I'm going to tell you for like a second, if anyone gave a shit about Andre the Giant's work rate, they should just be punched in the face.
That might be the most like markish thing you've ever said.
Yeah,
I'm
for
so
sure.
Proud of you.
I thank you.
So now we go to Most Marin Moment. Most Marin Moment.
Most Marin Moment.
So my Most Marin Moment is actually Ruth. And I will have future Paul play the clip.
I was just saying that this morning. I am so on the Russian wavelength. I am like one of those dolls in a doll, in a doll, in a doll. I am many dolls because I am so into myself. You get it, though? I mean, into myself.
You see where I picked that? Like,
yeah, no, totally. Yeah, this is like Sam whenever he has self-esteem. Mine is Sam Sylvia like pleading with Debbie to realize that her baby is boring. That's a good one, but it's rivaled by that oral sex comment because that's the sort of logic he would have.
Yeah, that was the thing with this episode is like
there were so many Marin moments.
Sam was so busy, like just kind of like
handling everything.
Yeah, just like being Debbie's like.
It's like he tapped everyone in. Like he was like, "All right, you say the line."
Well, so that's all for this episode. You can find us online at glowthedistance.xyz. We're going to start publishing small blog posts on the site. We are also on Twitter at glowthedistance and on Facebook also at glowthedistance. You can email us at glowingthedistance@gmail.com.
We're on Instagram at glowthedistance. We've gotten all of the parameters. Jetta, where can you be found?
I can be on JETTA_RAE. My food blog is fryhavoc.com. By the time you have listened to this, I will have had a post about the Hamburglar.
Yay!
And prison labor. Which I'm very excited about in advance. Where can you be found?
I can be found at Lauren Inc. INK on Twitter. You can also find me at my website, laureneparker.com. I'm also on Patreon, patreon.com/LaurenParker if you want to like plug my shit and give me money and so I can buy new podcasting equipment because it's always the best. And I'm around on Facebook and Twitter and shit. So, you know, if you have things that you're mad at me about, don't tell me. But if there's things that you would like me to know that you think are great, please do. And also rate us on iTunes. It makes it easier for people to find us. And we really, really appreciate it. All right.
We did it.
We did.
You really did glow the distance.
We're all champions in